everyone, in this video we are going to be looking at what significant figures are. Now these are quite similar to when we talk about rounding significant figures. It's like saying rounding to some decimal places, but it's just that significant figures are different to decimal places, but we round them in the similar way. So let's start by knowing what significant figures really are. So if we've got a number like 0, 0, 0, 1, the first significant figure over here is going to be 1. Because basically these leading zeros are not significant. They do not show us the value of the number. Basically, a significant figure always tells us how much the number is, like kind of gives us the rough value of the number. However, these zeros are not helping us identify that this is literally just the number 1. So these are not significant figures, but this one is. Now let's look at the second case. For example, if we had a number like 1000, like this, basically this one tells us that it is 1000, right? So when we write this out, 1 is the number that tells us the value of this 1000. So over here, this one is quite significant. So this is significant. However, these zeros after it just show us the place value, not necessarily the number and what it really is, but basically the place value of this number. So they just show the place value. So these numbers, these zeros are, you guessed it, not significant. Lastly, let's look at this type. If we have an example number like 8102, then over here, can you guess how many significant figures there are? Well, there are 4 significant figures over here. There are 4. This is because all of these numbers tell us exactly the amount of this number. So this 8 is significant, this 1 is significant, this even 0 is significant because it's kind of surrounded by these neighboring significant figures. So anything between, let's say if we had a number like 1000 and it had lots of more zeros and then it had a 2, everything in this middle is going to be significant. So that's why this number has 4 significant figures. So far we have learned that trailing zeros are not significant. So when we have a number like 1000, the 3 zeros at the end are not significant. Leading zeros are also not significant. For example, if we have 0001, then those 3 zeros at the front are not significant. Lastly, we have not done this, but let's look at after decimal. If we had a number with a decimal, what would happen then? So now let's start with the first example. Let's say I have a number like 0.012. Now, before we learned that leading zeros are never significant. Now, even after the decimal, this 0 is not going to be significant because after it, there are some digits, and before that digit, there are just zeros. So these 2 zeros are not significant. Any leading zeros, in any case for it's like this, or it has a decimal point, these zeros are never significant. So I'll just point that out. Remember that. Let's look at the second example. What if we had a number like 0.104? Now, as we discussed before, any zero neighbored by 2 significant figures is also going to be significant. So this 0 is significant, however this one isn't. So in total over here we have got 3 significant figures. Lastly, let's look at an example like this. Let's say we've got 0.01040. So how many significant figures are in this? Now, as I explained previously, these 2 zeros are not going to be significant. However, this 0 is, and these obviously are going to be significant as all digits other than 0 are always significant. However, is this 0 going to be significant? The answer is yes, because this shows the precision of this decimal. So it is significant. So we're going to say that there are 4 significant figures. Now, an important rule is that any number between significant figure is going to be significant. So if we have 1, 0, 0, 4, these two are going to be significant because this and this is significant. So let's look at this example. How many significant figures are in this? Now, we know that this is going to be a significant figure because it's after the decimal and it shows the precision, so we're going to give it a tick. Now, this is also a significant figure because it's a non-zero. So that means that these zeros are also significant. So this number actually has 5 significant figures. Now let's look at rounding a number to significant figures. So let's say we want to round 1, 2, 3, 0.4 to 2 significant figures. Now let's count how many significant figures this has. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 in total and we need to get it to 2. So now we're going to look at the second significant figure. So these are the only 2 significant figures there should be, and this number can either go up or stay the same as per the rules. Like, it's very similar to rounding decimals actually. So these numbers cannot be significant, so that means that they're going to turn to 0. Now let's look at the 2. If there was a 5 or a higher number next to it, then it would become a 3. It would go up. But since there is only a 3 next to it, we're going to round this number down to 1, 2, 0, 0. And that's going to be our answer. Now there cannot be a decimal and a 0 after this, because then that would mean that there's a significant figure, and that makes all of these zeros also significant figures, making it 5 significant figures. So we're not going to have that, and we're not going to have that, and just have our answer of 1, 2, 0, 0. Now, let's look at a question for rounding. So if we want to round a number like 1.304 to 2 significant figure, we're going to look at this 3 because this is the second significant figure. And then from here, we're going to make sure that all of the numbers behind it are going to be insignificant. So, because there is a 0 after 3, we're not going to round this number up, and we're going to keep 3 as it is. So we're going to have 1.3, and we're not going to have 0, 0 because that means these two are going to be significant. So there would be 4 significant figures. So instead of doing that, we're just going to have 1.3 as our answer for this. Let's look at one last example, 0.013. We want to round this to 1 significant figure. How do we do this? So we're going to look at the first significant figure and look at the digit after it. So as we can see, 3 is less than 5. And you know, the same rules apply over here, just similar to any decimal rounding. So if we said round 1.25 to 1 decimal place, then you would look at this number after 2 and you'll be like, yes, this is 5 or more, so we're going to round 2 up and make it 1.3. So the same thing happens over here, and when we have 0.013, we're going to round this down. Now, let's look at some questions. Let's look at the first one, 1.203. How many significant figures are in this? So, since these are all non-zero numbers, they're all going to be significant. And we talked about any number between significant figures is also going to be significant. So there are 4 significant figures here. Over here, we know that these, and there's a 0 by the way, these two are significant, and this 0 is also significant because it shows the precision of the number. Now this 0 is also going to be significant because it's between 2 significant numbers. Here we've got 1 being significant and this being significant as well because it shows the precision of the number. Lastly, is there any significant figure in this? The answer is no. There is nothing significant about this. There is just a 0, and we're going to treat it like a 0, so there is no significant figure right over there. so that's all for this video about significant figures and rounding to significant figures. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I hope it all made sense. If you have any questions, do comment them down below. And that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.